Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you on. My name is Erica, and I work on the content team here at GitLab, and I'm joining you from surprisingly sunny Chicago today. We'd love to hear where everyone is tuning in from, so if you feel so inclined, please use the chat function to tell us where you're joining from. Also joining us this morning is Erica Lindberg, another member of our content team, and Lee Matos, a support engineering manager at GitLab, who will be on hand to do some technical tag teaming with our presenter, Reb, who is a GitLab solutions architect. We're going to give people a couple more minutes to get logged on. So while we're waiting, I'm going to launch a poll you can take part in if you so choose. Today's demo is going to spend a little more time on GitLab's project management tools and how they can support enterprises. So we'd love to get an idea of what tools you're currently using for this purpose. And the poll is launched. All right. So if you feel so inclined, go ahead, and we appreciate your participation in the poll. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. First, feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. You can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen in order to do so. We'll have dedicated time towards the end of the demo for questions, but go ahead and send them in as you think of them, and we'll make sure that we get them answered by the end of the demo. If you're having any technical difficulties, you can use the chat function to get in touch with a moderator for help. If you guys are all ready, which I think you are, we're going to get going, and I am going to turn it over to Reb. Go ahead and take it away.
Hello and good morning. And since you mentioned you're in Chicago, I am in sunny New Jersey, just outside of New York City. And it's lovely and cool out today, and a fine day to be indoors doing a webcast. And Lee, who I guess isn't speaking right now, Lee is proudly in Brooklyn. So it's hard to get him out of Brooklyn. All right, so let's talk a little bit about GitLab. I promise I don't have too much slideware here, but I figured we should start things off with a few slides just to set the tone for what we're doing. Really, in today's world, everything moves fast. And the business world, the pace is really faster than even the IT pace, which is really how we got into the DevOps world, where you have the support teams for development working right alongside development, and DevOps really brings speed. And so today, what we're going to focus a bit more on is the sort of front-end version of DevOps, and in what you see in this case with GitLab, as opposed to the back end of how things are really working. Because the front end really is what users see, and it's the project management bits that allow you to work in a streamlined workflow, and really provides tools that as I always say, get out of your way and just let you do your job, because the last thing people want to do is just sit in a tool all day and trying to remember which menu item is where, etc. So that's what GitLab is really good at, is getting out of your way, letting you do your job. So why do we want a project management focus? Well, you want to build the right things for the people you're developing things for, and you want to build them at the right time and with the right purpose. And you want to build things that people need, because it's really not too good to build things and then find out that what you built wasn't really what people wanted. I mean, history is littered with things like, my favorite is always Microsoft Bob, which I guess I remember as being touted as this fantastic, wonderful thing, and then nobody used it. And there are countless examples of this over the years. I guess I'm showing some of my gray hairs by mentioning Microsoft Bob, but there are a lot of other things like that. I mean, I happen to be a BlackBerry fan. I remember when BlackBerry spent 2 years developing their new OS, and it was fantastic. And by the time they released it, it was obsolete, and we had things like the iPhone and Android just sort of taking over their market. And look where they are now. So what you really want to do is, you want to build the right stuff, and you want to avoid guesswork. You want to write quality code, and the quality code results in quality products. And it really all comes down and comes together in tools like GitLab, which allow you to make data-driven decisions and really avoid guesswork. You want to develop the right things for the right people and avoid guesswork. So what is GitLab really? It's a single application for the complete DevOps lifecycle, as we say here. It allows you to go from planning to monitoring, or we used to say from idea to production. It represents what we call the whole development lifecycle, software development lifecycle, right? And nowadays we really call it the DevOps lifecycle, because the operations people are sort of built in, head and going, side by side with the developers. And so today's focus really is going to be on planning and creating, because as we see in the bottom here, this giant double-headed arrow, what you have throughout this entire life cycle is really a conversation between different users and the release people and the testing people. Everybody's working together in collaboration. And so GitLab offers you a number of different tools that will all seamlessly work to foster that cooperation and such. So we're going to today focus on the planning and creation portions. And with that, let's just jump right in. So let me bring up my browser here, and let's take a look at a GitLab project. So I have here the GitLab project. It's called the Monolith, just because it's this big clunky bit of software, but it really could be anything. And what we're going to do here is we're going to talk really about how GitLab works and what users' interfaces to it look like. Now, there are really three main pillars of GitLab. I mean, we have Git, which is the underlying source code management piece. And then there are issues, which really are the basis for workflow management. And then there's CI/CD, the continuous integration, continuous deployment piece. And those really all come together in what we at GitLab call a merge request. Now, other Git-based products might call this a pull request, but we like to call it a merge request because that's really what it is. It's merging code, and we like to call things what they are. It's a place for users to discuss what they're working on and to collaborate. And so all work really in GitLab really starts with these three things. And by the way, let me take one small step back and just talk about GitLab as a whole. So while we talked about Git as being the source code management piece that lies underneath, GitLab itself really sits on top and is what your user's interface is. So we're going to look here at GitLab from the user interface perspective, but be rest assured that if you are using GitLab in any fashion, that underneath sits a full-featured Git repository and Git basically underpinnings that's just native Git. It looks like Git because it really is native Git. And so any other tools that you might have that you might be working with and want to continue using will still absolutely talk into this, but the users can use the project management and other features in the front end to collaborate, as we will see here. So work, as I said, starts with issues. And let's take a look at what those issues are. Issues can be things like bugs or feature requests, etc. And we have a little menu item on the left-hand side here in this project that's called issues. And we can list them and see what the various issues are here. That's very nice, but it shows I have a list of 29 of them here. So how are you going to actually work with these and manage them? We have the concept of issue boards, which are very similar to Kanban boards and such. And these allow easy management of issues. Here we have a sample one for development, and sort of takes a lot of our defaults. We have a backlog of things we haven't worked with yet. Then we have some other issue boards for things that maybe we want to do, things that we are doing, and moving all the way to the right-hand side, things that are closed. And these are easily configurable. And you're able to configure them with all sorts of filters and such. So for example, if you are into Agile, and a lot of people are into Agile, and we have a configured board already here that says configured for Scrum. And I've taken some of the labels that we have on the various issues, and I've organized things based on those labels. So here's a Scrum board, and you can see I have the same backlog and actually the same type of completed and such, but I also have now a sprint board. And this allows you to very easily manage all the issues that your users may be filing and may be working on. It's label centric. It simplifies how users can work. And it's really easy to use. Let's assume that I want to work on this issue, upgrade site certificate number 10. Okay, issue number 10. If I'm going to work on that, all I have to do is move that over to in progress, and poof, now it's got the in progress label. It'll show up there in all the other issue boards that may happen to have it there, and I can go and just begin working on that. Or if I want to assign it to various people, depending on exactly how I have my labels set up and how I have my issue boards set up, I can very easily move things around without having to click and point and whatever. I just move things between different tabs here, and GitLab tracks exactly where they should go and make sure to give users the appropriate actions. Now, if I go back to my original development board, you'll see I have a couple other things here. In my backlog, for example, I've got a whole bunch of things that are in the backlog, but here I have one you can use, for example, a cut line. Actually, one of my colleagues created this. Well, cut line, what is that? Well, it says 1.9 release. I can use that to store below it other things that might need to relate to a particular thing that I'm not quite ready to work on. Now notice here I have a workflow defined. Nice, pretty graph. GitLab allows you to create graphs like this, mermaid type graphs. And if you look at that, I can see that that's all written in Markdown. Pretty nifty, because I can just add and remove things, and GitLab will actually update that on the fly for me. So you can use that to order things and what have you. And also, we have the ability to store video links, all sorts of other things, some of which we'll see in a little bit. So let's go and take a peek inside one of my other issues here. And if I go back to my board, let's take a look at this one. And you can see that inside here, I have a release cut line is already here. It's listed as a related issue. And you can see all the different things that have happened along this issue, that somebody has added a label and removed a label and done all sorts of tasks here. And I can create additional items in here. I can notify one of my colleagues. I can say, for example, I'm going to tell John Woods. GitLab allows you to have conversations within your actual development, within issues, within merge requests, etc. It's what we call conversational development. So let's take a peek at another issue here. Bear with me for one moment while I find this. You see there are an awful lot of ways to look at things here. All right, so we look at this particular one. You can see that this has a different set of descriptions. I have a defect, and I've created this with my template for a bug report. And I can include screenshots and all sorts of things in here. So for example, if I wanted to take part of my screen and add these labels in here, I can tell GitLab, hey, let me just paste that image in here. And if I comment, you'll see that I get that image just stuffed right into there, and I can put anything I like within that markdown. And we saw some examples of links to videos and other things before. In addition, I can actually also assign things to multiple people. So this is right now assigned to me, but if I wanted to assign this to somebody else, let's assign this to Mr. Woods again. Poof, now I have two assignees up here on this particular issue. This allows us to work together. And if anybody else can actually decide that they want to come and look at this, but 2 people are actually assigned to it so that we get notified if anything changes with regard to this issue. So when I make a comment, it will notify other users about that. So it allows for very easy collaboration. Now you can also see on some of these issues that I have, well, actually, go back to this one. I can have epics assigned here. Now I don't have any assigned on this one right now. Let's find an issue that has an epic assigned to it, and we'll see how that works. Here we go. The epic is set to improving site performance. This allows you to see what you're building towards, what sort of the parent of the issue is. If I go into this epic, you'll see that there are a whole bunch of things defined here, and I have different deliverables that are assigned here for site architecture, browser load time, etc. And I can check these off, and GitLab will keep track of what is checked off and what isn't. And we can see here that there are 10 issues associated with this. This allows you to really develop value-driven feature deliverables. Now, if I go back into my issue, I can see that there are also milestones assigned here. This happens to be assigned to milestone sprint 3. Milestones give you burn down charts and allow you to do time tracking. And we'll see those again in a couple of minutes. If I look at the issue over here, I can see that I can assign a due date to my issue. When might this need to be done? If I assign this to the due date of March 29th, it will then start to warn me when things are not quite ready and it's approaching March 29th. This will also allow me to track how I'm doing against my dates for my milestones and even for my epic as well. And we talked about drag and drop prioritization within your issue boards, but let's take a quick peek at milestones now. So if I go here and I look at all my milestones, I see that I only have one milestone in this particular project, Sprint 3, and it is 50% complete. Now, how did we get that 50% complete? You can see that there are 15 issues here and 7 merge requests associated with them. So if I look at this particular issue, this particular milestone, I can see I've got a burn down chart here. What is my burn down chart telling me? It says for this milestone, which is Sprint 3, that I've opened and closed all these different issues, and right now, as of March 13th, I guess this was yesterday, was the last time one was worked on, and there were 11 open issues. Well, now this has a due date of March 17th, as we can see on the right-hand side, so there are only 2 full days remaining. And I've got 10 open issues. So if I look at my sort of straight line depreciation-ish graph, which goes from 14 issues when I opened this on the February 24th to March 17th with 2 days remaining, I got an awful lot to go. But it could be that those issues, these 11 open issues, are pretty darn easy to finish. So we also offer you the idea of issue weights. And so users and people can put in issue weights and say, well, not every issue is really the same level of difficulty. And if I look here, I'm a little closer to my desired burn down here with regard to issue weights, but I still have an awful lot to go. I can also see that over the course of time that people have spent 1 day, 1 hour, and 33 minutes working on closing issues for this particular milestone. So pretty nifty, and it really allows you to roll things up and figure out what your goals are, and everybody can work towards this. If I come down here, I also can see that these are the actual issues that I'm working on, so I don't even have to go anywhere else to see this. GitLab is really good about presenting the information that you need where you need to see it on the screen, so you don't have to go clicking and dragging all over the place. So all of this is taking place within a particular project. But what happens if I have a project that really spans multiple repositories, or I want a bigger picture view of things? Well, we have the notion within GitLab of groups. So this project was called the monolith, but that monolith exists within a group called the beast. And inside the beast, you can see that I have a couple of projects. First of all, I have the monolith, which is listed here in the middle. I have Brave New World, and I've actually also created a subgroup, which at this time doesn't have any projects in it, but you can have various subgroups. I think we can have up to 25 levels of subgroups here. So it allows you to really organize your projects in whatever way you feel necessary. Now, within this particular group, you can see we also have the idea of issues and epics. So the issues here, I have 40 issues that are associated with this particular group. Notice that I didn't have that many associated with the monolith project, but now I have far more that are associated with this group because this group contains all the things underneath it. So if I look at the issue boards for this group, I can see here are all the different issues that I've got. And I have different things that are prioritized. I have various labels and such that I can sort on. And I can also look here and say, well, these two projects together constitute my 1.0 release. How am I doing with regard to that? I may be the project manager, and I don't want to look at things at the micro level. I want to look at things at the macro level. How am I doing with regard to this particular group of things? And the answer here is actually probably not too well, because all 4 things that are associated with my 1.0 release are sitting in the backlog. So maybe I want to go and tell people what they should be doing. I could move these over to the doing pile if I so desire, and then that will hopefully, after having consulted with one of my users, said, hey, he's working on it, good, now I can move it over to doing, or the appropriate action can take place here. But all of these exist at multiple levels so that you can actually have people manage multiple projects at a time. And it's really easy to filter. And it's also really easy to save or edit boards. So let's say I wanted to create a new issue board. I can give it a name. We'll just call it Reb for sake of argument, just to show you what this looks like. And then I can tell it what the board scope is. And I can give it any milestone or any label or any assignee. So I could have issues that are only assigned to me, or any particular weights. And you could use one or none or all of these if you like. So you can create as many issue boards as you want. I've seen people with quite a significant number of boards. And it really is great because it allows people to express exactly what they're looking for and have GitLab give them only those particular things and allow them to sort them in whatever way they want. So let's talk a little bit about epics. Epics are actually even another level above groups. Epics allow you to see, and allow project manager really to see things across multiple projects and groups. Now we have epics in the version of GitLab that I'm running right here, but we have a slightly newer version running on GitLab.com. And if I take a look at the epics that we have over there, you can see that I have these, which are really roll-up issues for, in this case, development of GitLab itself. And these are really date range bounded sets of issues. And they provide a roadmap. And as I said, it's the next level up from what we were looking at before. But if you look here, I can scroll to the right and see what things are coming and going. Let me collapse the sidebar on this so we can see a little bit better. You can see that these are the different epics that I've got and when things are due. And if I look, hey, around the beginning of April, the first week of April, I got an awful lot due. So I, as the project manager, might look and say, hey, I have 4 epics due to be finished over here and 1 starting. Maybe I need to make sure that I see who's on vacation that week and things like that. Maybe I want to throw a big party for my users when I know that all this stuff is going to be done. And then I can drill down into any of these to determine what's really going on within this particular epic and what issues are there in here. So that's really how we roll things up to be visible across the entire server. I'll also point out that more is coming with regard to epics and really portfolio management. We have an entire roadmap. GitLab makes its product roadmap available, and we can certainly share the link to that with you. But if you just go to gitlab.com, about.gitlab.com/direction, and there's a whole bunch of stuff available there that tells you everything about what's coming out. And we are actively working on all of these nifty features, including epics and such. So issues, they can come from people entering issues, and I can go in and start to create one perhaps here, and But they can also come from external sources. So for example, if you've got chat ops tools like Slack or Mattermost, you can create GitLab issues from slash commands. So people can be having a chat and someone say, hey, you need to file an issue on this so that we can make sure to add this new feature. And our what we're having discussion about here is not forgotten. And you click on something in there and slash command and tell it, poof, off you go, and it'll go create an issue for you. So that's really nice and helpful, and really it allows people to do, as I sort of have been saying a few times here, to do your job without letting the tool get in the way. The tool is a tool. It's supposed to help you. It's not supposed to force you to remember where to go and where to click and what to do. Now, if I'm in my monolith project, I can go and create an issue. I mean, I'm trying to get back, I guess, to what we talked about at the very beginning, which is the center of everything, which is really the GitLab merge request. That is sort of like the nexus for where people operate. But merge requests are based in large part on issues. So let's go and look at creating an issue here. Now, I'm in my project. I could go and click on issues, and on the issue pane, it actually says new issue. But I also show you where that looks like. But there's new issue up in the upper right. But hiding here at the top menu bar are things that users will use all of the time, such as this is my to-dos, things that GitLab wants to let me know about if somebody has mentioned me or something else, or if there are merge requests with information that I should look at, or issues that mention me. All this is always here waiting for users, so they never have to think, where do I have to click? What do I have to do? Did somebody mention me? It's all there for you. So this plus sign allows me to create a new item. In this case, within this project, I'm going to create a new issue. And when I create a new issue, it'll ask me to choose a template. And I can, in this case, I have only one template defined for bugs, but you can create templates so that users won't have to fill everything out, and you can structure things in such a way that they will fill out and put the appropriate information based on whatever it is that they are doing. And so here we can give it a title and add various things and assign it to people and assign a milestone and a weight and etc., things like that. So let's pretend that we have done that, and I'm going to go to my issues over here, and I see that I've created one a little while ago. Background color screen does not meet corporate standards, and you can see here that it's got a number of things, and I've assigned it to a couple of people, and it's got a milestone, etc. And what else do I have down here? There's this lovely button that says create merge request. Now, that's going to do a whole lot of things. So let me click this, and I will tell you what it's going to do as it's working. So first of all, it pops up a merge request screen, which is nice and what you would expect to do when you say create a merge request. And it's open. Now, it's done a huge raft of things here. First of all, GitLab has opened the merge request, but it has given it a name. I didn't type anything. All I did was one click. It says WIP, which stands for work in progress, resolve, and then the name of the issue that I had. It's linked it to the actual issue that I was working on before, which is issue number 34. It even provides a link over here. And if I were to click on that, I'd go back over to that issue. And it's marked it such that when I close this merge request, it's going to close issue number 34. Oh, by the way, it's also created a branch. That's right. It's gone into Git and created a branch. It's gotten the name for it. It uses the name of the issue as well as the number of the issue. It said that this branch is going to request to merge back into master. And it's also started our CI/CD. Remember at the beginning I said that GitLab really uses a merge request as sort of the central foundation for what's going on with really three pillars underneath it, right? The merge request has three pillars. It's got Git, it's got CI/CD, and it's got issues. And so this deploying the staging 2 days ago is when last I worked with this. But right now what we're doing is we're going to it's going to update as soon as it's done deploying what we call a review application. So once it deploys a review application, I will have the ability to look at my code exactly as it exists on this branch that I've just created, such that I know when things get started and when I start working, what my application looks like, whether it compiles even, etc. So it's creating all of that right now. Now, it also offers to let me create a file, because sometimes when you create a branch, that's the first thing that you want to do is create a file. So let's go back and take a look at some of the other merge requests that we have, and we can look at one that has already run so that we can see what this looks like after the deployment environment finishes. It's there are a few other people working in that environment, so it may take it a minute or two for to come up with that review app, but I have one that's already built over here. So if I look, it says, and this, all I did was create the merge request here, right? So it says this is a request to merge, in this case, issue number 30. And it shows me that the pipeline passed for this. Well, let's take a look. What does my code actually look like? It's created a review app over here, and this review app has a link to, this is my application. In this case, it's a web application that runs a web server and it just displays something. My bug that I put in earlier was that the background should be my corporate standard of red instead of this plain and normal grayish color. But you can see right there, I had a link that took me right into my deployment environment. In fact, I could take this link and copy it and give it to one of my colleagues. So if I was working on code, I could say, hey, what do you think of this? Does this look like what I should be doing? Now, in this merge request, we've actually had a couple of people file a couple of commits against it, and we'll take a look at those in just a minute. But we can see moving farther down the screen that this requires approval of somebody. And it requires one approval, and there are two people who can approve this. This is Evan Richards and, oh, my friend Brendan O'Leary. Both of those people are able to approve it, and I can't approve my own work. Also, GitLab has this merge button grayed out. Why? Because this is still listed as a work in progress. You know, we want people to be able to work together, and when everybody agrees that we're going to be ready to merge this code, we will then merge the code. Everything is right at your fingertips, and you can take a look at it. I want to see, I've had some discussions here. Various people have discussed things, and here one of the discussions was resolved. I can also look at exactly what commits I've had here. So if I look at my commits, they're right here. Let's take a look at one of these commits specifically. I can look at the actual diffs right here from within GitLab and see what the diffs are for this, right? Here they are. And they're viewed in line, right? But what if I wanted to do a side-by-side one and see what exactly is happening? Oh, look, somebody added the stage doc in here. I can even comment on somebody's commit here. So I've commented on doc right here. And that will go back right into a discussion that then other people can add and reply to if I wish to do so. There are various ways to do this, and it all works quite well and allows everybody to see a seamless stream of information, conversational development. How is everything working? Now, if I go back to my merge requests over here and I take a look at the one that I updated a few minutes ago, you'll see now it has deployed this just like the other one, right? But it's deployed this, and it said memory usage increased from basically 0 to 9.2 megabytes. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't ask it to give me a memory utilization thing. GitLab is just telling me that. Let's go and take a look at the pipelines and such that allow me to do that. If I go into my CI/CD environment, I can see what is happening in there. So 4 minutes ago, I ran this this job, and you can see all the different stages that happened here. There was a build stage. There were a bunch of test stages. There was some documentation tests that passed, and we're all set. And then it created a review application, all by virtue of the fact that I just took that code and branched it. And so I can go into any of these, and anybody can go into any of these and actually see what exactly was happening, which tests were run, what did they look like? I can also go into my environments tab here and take a look within my environments and see exactly what is happening in my environments. Now, I have some production tests and other things, and I have a bunch of review applications. And if I go into my review applications, I can see that there's one for each branch, and I can open them from here. I can do some monitoring right from here, and I even can go into the terminal window. I don't have to leave my seat. I don't have to ask anybody anything. I'm right here on the console of the actual virtual machine that is running this particular application. Pretty darn nifty. So that allows you to do a whole bunch of things. Now, in addition, we also have some DAST and SAST type tools that are built into GitLab. This is in GitLab Ultimate, that allow you to basically have GitLab automatically run tests on security scanning. Now, we have some nifty ways that's going to be implemented come soon. And here's just a little mock-up that I wanted to show you of what this will look like in the not too distant future. We have this all configured within our merge request. And as you can see here, we can expand these and show exactly which test has failed and where. Not all of this is currently available, but it's coming really soon. We release on the 22nd of every month, and let me tell you, we add stuff faster than people can even keep track of it sometimes. So we have a whole bunch of different performance and other tools that are coming in here, license management, etc. And as long as I'm giving you the preview, there are some previews of actually operational health here, so we can see what's happening with various projects. A lot of nifty things coming in here. So I don't know if you know, GitLab has recently acquired Gymnasium, and that's how some of these security scans and other things are being implemented, because we have this tool set built right into GitLab. Let's go back over to my overview of my project and talk just briefly about cycle analytics. What are cycle analytics? It's really a way of measuring speed. How long do we take to do various things? Because as a project manager, you're going to want to know all those little tools that I showed you when the users are actually doing merge requests and merging and coding and whatever, what is actually going on? Well, if I look at this particular project, cycle analytics, hey, how long did I spend working on issues or testing or other things? Now, we don't have a huge amount of data in our sort of sample project here, but you can see the kinds of things that we track. And by virtue of the fact that GitLab really is sort of an end-to-end solution, and we're doing this from the planning stage all the way out to the monitoring stage, GitLab also takes statistics at all sorts of different points that you never have to even worry about. So look, there were 6 days spent in this particular issue. There were 30 days spent in some other issues. If I want to look at the testing, how long did it take my tests to actually run? We have all of the data on that, and it's all presented for you in a concise package and an easy to find location at the project level, so you can see exactly how well did your project perform. Not bad, but that's at the project level. What if I want to take this up to the group level? How do things work at the group level? Well, I can look at contribution analytics. Who has contributed to this particular project? And there haven't been a lot of people working on this particular project, but you can see the kind of data that we have available here. We have how many push events were there? How many merge events were there? What kind of issues did I have? And then you can drill down and figure out exactly who has done what. There are ways to sort these. I can go and look at the contributions on a per user basis, etc. And even at the server level, we have a way to look at this stuff. I actually happen to be an administrator in the server, so I can go to the administrative level and look at what we call the conversational development index. This says which pieces of GitLab am I using and how much am I actually using them. It's something that's just interesting, perhaps just from an informational standpoint, but it lets you see exactly what is going on across your server and how many people are using what. So let's go back and take a look at our slideware once more. And I have one other slide to show you here. And that relates to really looking at GitLab from a holistic perspective, and what does GitLab Premium really offer to you? Because we have our Libre version, which is the free version, and we have the version that has what we call much more, many more features that are built for the enterprise, right? That's really the difference between Libre and in our premium offerings. We have in the enterprise offerings, we have more security functionality, such as LDAP group sync and the SAST and DAST type functionality I showed you the screen on. We have different permission models, audit rules, push rules, etc. And we also really offer different versions for different size organizations. So there are a number of different enterprise versions of GitLab that allow you to choose, how big are your teams? And the functionality is really broken out in that fashion. Is that how big are your teams? And that sort of allows you to figure out which version of enterprise you like. And it gives you a lot of flexibility. We have high availability models available, and we have GitLab Geo, which is really great if you have a distributed team. There's also GitLab Geo DR for disaster recovery. It allows you to take your GitLab installation and essentially mirror it to somewhere else. So in case you have a problem at one data center, you can have a disaster recovery backup elsewhere. And of course, as I'm sure Lee is telling everybody in the chat, and showing everyone in the chat, we have a fantastic support team. With GitLab Premium, we have the availability of 4-hour non-emergency response time. And actually, emergency support is within 30 minutes. And of course, those fine support people will actually also be happy to assist you with upgrades. So you want to perform an upgrade, we don't want you to have to run into any problems during your upgrade and say, where am I going to get support? We'll be there with you. If you notify us in advance, we'll work with you to schedule it at an appropriate time, and we'll be there with you to make sure that the upgrades go fine. GitLab upgrades are pretty easy and don't usually have any problems, but a lot of people would like to have some hand-holding just in case. With that, I think we'll take it over to questions and answers. I'm not sure what questions people might have or what is waiting for us, but Lee or anyone else?
Hey, Brett. Thanks. I grabbed a bunch. There was a couple in there that I've answered. Some great ones around the features around EE versus the community edition and hosting them. So everyone should have been able to see my answers there. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to drop them in and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Erica, are there any others floating around in the world of the internet there? I can't actually see the questions because I'm presenting here, but surprise me.
Right now, we have them all answered. Lee took care of them, but if anybody else has any additional questions or thoughts, they want to get some insight, feel free to ping us in the Q&A section.
Well, while we're waiting, or perhaps any going, gone, we'll just perfunctorily thank everybody. And if anybody has questions, we here at GitLab are always happy to answer them. We are a very open company. It's GitLab is based on open source software. We're an open company. Everything is pretty much out there. So we're always happy to answer questions and show people the product, let you try it out, etc.
And looks like we're good. So I just wanted to, thank everybody for coming. And we have a survey of questions about the webinar in case you want to just let us know any thoughts or things that you'd like to hear from us in the future. So I'm just going to drop that into our chat, and that will take you to the survey. And from there, you also you can sign up for a free trial of GitLab Enterprise Edition. So I will also drop the link to that in our chat. And we appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our sales team at about.gitlab.com/sales. And if that's all from you guys, thank you so much for your time. And we will talk to you guys again soon, hopefully.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.